What is good, my people? Welcome to an episode here on Obi Ski TV that, listen, I'll be honest, I never pictured making, but it is what it is, man. For those of you guys that are wondering what this is about, pretty sure you read the title. It's about what happened to good old Obi, my 2021 Yamaha FX SVHO. And, when I put it out there on Instagram and on Facebook that, my ski was down, a lot of you guys reached out and were trying to figure out, hey, what's going on with the ski? Like what happened, all these things. And there was just a lot happening, guys. There was just, as you can imagine, man, there was a lot happening. And so I figured, what? Let me kind of get through it, and what happens, happens. And I guess from there on, maybe I'll put a video together explaining from beginning to end what happened with my ski. So this is it. This is the video. Hope you guys have been appreciating and loving the adventure so far. So if you can, of course, as always, before I get into it, before I give you the full rundown from A to Z, I'd appreciate it if you can subscribe to the channel, and of course, smash that like button, man. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let me tell you exactly what happened, from what happened to the ski to the actual experience with both Yamaha and the warranty, along with Cycle Springs. So let's go. The first thing I'll say is I have had zero issues with my ski, right? My Wave Runner. I got about 230 hours. I've never had an issue. All maintenance, everything done. She's been kept up as good as you can. So I had no real reason to think I would have an issue with the ski, right? So it is, late January, and I'm heading out to one of the rides over on the Kissimmee River. And for those of you guys that have ridden the river, we started south by the Estapoga Canal and we rode north. Once I got to the lock, it opens up there, right? And it opens up, it turns into a nice little straightaway. And generally speaking, that's the spot where a lot of us just go full throttle and, we just send the skis, right? So that's what I was doing. I was sending her full throttle, and the ski felt off, like just slightly. I could feel it. And based on that, I looked at my, my dash, and it was showing, hey, you're going about 67, 68 miles an hour. And I'm trying to figure out, why is it doing that? Normally tops out at 70, no problem. So I couldn't figure it out, and I just kind of kept riding, no big deal, but it felt weird. So I just, rode it for, I don't know, man, 10, 15 minutes. And it was just kind of right there, 67, 68 miles an hour, when I'm approaching the restaurant, right? So I'm pretty sure you guys know the restaurant there. And all of a sudden, as I'm pulling into the no wake zone, the ski just dies from 67 to 5 miles an hour. And it goes into limp mode. My check engine light turns on, my oil light turns on, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So thank God I was not far at all from the dock. So I take her in, I turn her off, I give it time for the computer to reset and figure out what's going on, right? So, I take the seat off. One time I had a hose come off, and I check everything, all the hoses are on, everything is on. There seems to be no issues. So, I give it about 10, 15 minutes, and then I go back to the ski. When I get back on, I turn it on, and the oil light is off, right? But the check engine light is still on. And so I'm thinking, did I suck something up? Is something stuck in the impeller on the bottom? I don't know. Let me check it out. So, I walk it over to the ramp there, and I check her out. Nothing on the bottom. No lily pads, no grass, nothing. So I'm like, this is strange. I turn it back on. The check engine light is off. It's not on anymore. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it was just something with the computer. So I take it back out on the river, and I hit 70, but I hit 70 for like a second, and then it kind of settles back into that 67, 68 mile an hour. So I'm actually not 100% sure what's going on. I go back to River Ranch, And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna put it in eco mode, and I'm about 40, 45 miles from the ramp. Thank God my Yamaha's running, like it's not dead or anything. So at least I'm grateful for that. So I just said, you know what, with a couple of my guys just, you know, ride behind me and let me get her back to the ramp, and, you know, let me throw her on eco mode. So that's what I did. I threw her on eco mode, and without an issue, she went back to the ramp. So now I got her on the boat. Now now I got her on the trailer, and I guess I got to figure out what's next, right? So once I put her on the trailer, you know, I take her to my buddy Mark, who, you know, has taken a look at my skis before, and see if he can kind of get an idea. So I take it there. He says, you know, hey, listen, brother, you got a little bit of rust, like by where the spark plugs are. That's got to be a mixture of water. This is a pretty big job. I don't really know 100% what it can be unless I take it apart. You might be leaking from your oil cooler. I'm not 100% sure. So I said, okay, no worries. You know, I have a warranty at Cycle Springs for my ski, because they have, not only did I get the 5-year warranty, but they also have the full lifetime motor warranty. So let me take it back to them. No worries. I take it back to Cycle Springs, and my experience at Cycle and Yamaha begins here. So once I take it to Cycle Springs, I give them the breakdown, exactly what I told you earlier in the video. And they said, no problem, brother. Listen, we're gonna, you know, we gotta run this by Yamaha, obviously through the warranty. You know, they have to approve everything. At this point, I'm good with it. I'm a little nervous just because, you know, I've heard horror stories, not necessarily with Yamaha, but with just warranties in general, right? So I'm just, listen, guys, no worries, man. Obviously, I'm relying on you guys. I bought my, you know, my Wave Runner here because of this specific reason, right? Like you guys have the warranty, and we should be okay. So they assured me, listen, we're gonna look at it. So they asked me some questions just in terms of how I maintained it, all that stuff. You know, they looked at my bay, the motor, and it looks pristine. Like they pretty much did all of my work. I've taken it to Cycle Springs for all of the maintenance. So they check it out. They call me back. I'm speaking to Jesse over at Cycle Springs, and he says to me, hey, brother, listen, got some good news. You know, Yamaha approved it. They're, you know, we're gonna check out the, you know, the ski, and based on that, we'll let you know what's going on. I'm like, cool, no worries. So he gets back to me. In the meantime, I decided, you know, I'm gonna call Yamaha myself. I'm gonna let them know basically what's happening. And full disclosure, I'm gonna be dead honest with you guys, full disclosure. I wanted them to know that although, you know, I do appreciate the warranty taking away the financial burden that this would cause. Again, I told them, hey guys, listen, I create content on my ski. I'm not one of these huge YouTubers, millions of followers, nothing like that. But, you know, I just want to let you guys know that, you know, I honestly would really appreciate, you know, this not taking as long as I've heard this can take, just because I create content with my ski, and me not having my ski for months is gonna be difficult. So, you know, I spoke to Jonathan over at Yamaha, and he was really cool about it. Listen, guys, from the beginning, I must say, with both dealership and with Yamaha, I was not abrasive. I was very polite. I just appreciated them first and foremost taking care of my issue. I just let them know that, you know, I would appreciate, obviously, if they can do whatever they can to help expedite this process, just because, you know, I would pretty much need my ski as fast as possible, right? So yeah, so I spoke to Jonathan, and he said, listen, man, I see the inquiry from Cycle Springs here. I see so far what they're doing. Listen, brother, I will call you at least once a week to keep you updated on what's going on. I said, I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. So now we're right about maybe like mid to end of February, something like that, right? So I get the call back from, you know, from Jesse at Cycle Springs, and said, hey man, you know, we think it's something to do maybe with the transom plate. We found a bunch of oil in your intake, in your air intake. Obviously there's a leak somewhere. So, you know, we think it's a couple things. You know, I got a full paperwork of what they did for this first service request, right? So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna test it out, and we're hoping that that's gonna take care of it. I said, okay, cool. hopefully that's it, right? I'll get my ski back within a week. A week later, Jesse calls me right on time. He's on top of things, and he basically says, hey, brother, I got good news and I got eh. I'm like, all right, man, hit me with the good news. So he says to me, well, we changed out the transom plate. We did a couple things on the motor, and you're not leaking oil in your air intake anymore. So that's good. I said, great. What's the bad news? He said, well, water is still somehow getting into your motor. And at this point, we're not sure how, we're not sure why. It looks like it's been gradually happening. So we pretty much spoke to Yamaha, and we're gonna have to completely give you a brand new motor. And I mean head, block, like pistons, valve, like the whole thing. We're gonna have to replace the whole entire motor. I'm like, in my mind, there's two things that are pretty much two thoughts that popped into my mind immediately, right? The first one was, okay, that's actually not bad because it's under warranty, so I'm gonna have a brand new motor. Like, that's awesome, right? But then the second thought that creeped in right away is, wait a minute, how long is this gonna take? Like, and that's when Jesse said, brother, what I can tell you is these things can potentially take a while. He didn't give me a specific time frame because, you know, at this moment we weren't sure. Everything has to go through Yamaha parts. Everything has to be ordered. I mean, some of this stuff is coming all the way from Japan. So I'm just kind of fearing for the worst in terms of I might be down my ski, maybe all of 2025. Like, I've heard some warranty stuff, not through Yamaha specifically, but just in general, where even cars, right? People have been out of luck for months, even a year. So I'm not too thrilled about that, but what can I do, you know? At that point I said, listen, man, thanks for keeping me in the loop. Just let me know what's going on, you know? He's like, absolutely, man, will do. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? Let me call, you know, Jonathan over at Yamaha and find out what's going on. I'll give it a couple days. I'm not jumping on here every day. I want to give these guys time to do their work, you know what I mean? So I generally spaced out my calls about a week apart. So at this point, you know, about a week later or so, I called Jonathan at, you know, Yamaha, and, you know, I kind of asked him, like, hey, what's going on? And he says to me, he's like, hey, brother, listen, so, you know, we've already sent some stuff. Now, the block itself, you know, the motor, is what's going to take a little bit because, you know, we have to send it all the way from Japan. So he kind of explained to me how, you know, this is probably going to take a week or two, and then by the time it lands in the States, then it's got to arrive at the Yamaha warehouse over in Georgia. From there, they have to send it to Cycle Springs and so on. So I could potentially be looking at, I don't know, maybe like another month, right? And this is now like middle 16th, 18th, 20th of March. I'm like, okay, at least I know that. At least I'm envisioning I should have my ski by latest, if not late April, beginning of May. So thank you so much, Jonathan. I appreciate you for letting me know, for keeping me in the loop. No worries. So now, about a week later, you know, I just kind of want to call up Jesse, see how things are going over at Cycle Springs, and it's a Tuesday, and I call him up, and he's like, hey, brother, what's going on? Listen, I got some good news for you. I'm like, great, I always love hearing good news. We got a lot of the parts in, however, you know, the block, the biggest part, it's actually on back order from Yamaha. And the issue is that when items are on back order, it can take months. So I said, what's the good news, man? He's like, well, Yamaha is sending us one from, and if I'm messing this up, I apologize. I'm kind of using my memory. I'm trying to, you know, remember exact words, but something along the lines of, like Yamaha sending one from their production line, right? Something along those lines. And so what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to replace one of the ones from our inventory with that one. So we are actually going to be able to get to work on your ski, like hopefully if not today, tomorrow. And remember, this is a Tuesday. And so he says to me, I'm hoping to get your ski maybe even wrapped up by Thursday or Friday, like tested, everything. Woo! At this point, I'm like, I'm ecstatic, man. I'm thinking, I'm getting it a month ahead of what I thought was going to be possible, right? So I said, no problem, Jesse. I appreciate you keeping me in the loop, man. let me know, call me as soon as you got word. So that was on Tuesday. Saturday morning, I'm outside. It's a beautiful day. I'm doing yard work. I'm just about wrapped up. I get a call from Cycle Springs. It's Jesse. He's like, brother, I'm gonna make your weekend. Your ski is ready to go. We completely and utterly replaced the whole motor. We tested it. There's no leaks, nothing. Man, you are golden. You can come here and pick it up. I said, dude, I will be there this morning. So that's when I jumped rather in my Gladiator. I drove over to Cycle Springs. I picked it up. It was a near flawless experience, man. I was so excited to get back out on the water. Of course, the big thing is you gotta re-break it in. You gotta do your 10 hours again, which is why I'm here. I'm in my stomping grounds on the Alafaya River. And I figure, you know what? While I just ride it up to the ditty, maybe, ride it through the bridge of 75, try to work the throttle little by little, maybe I'll just put together this video out on the water instead of like in my room, letting you guys know what my experience was, To wrap it up, guys, I will tell you that my experience was so good, Obviously, maybe some of you guys have had different experiences. I welcome for you guys to share it in the comments. Maybe there's a dealership that you had a great experience at, right? So many times, everyone is so quick to jump on social media and, rightfully so, share negative experiences with, places that probably didn't do right by them. And I get it. But I wanted to make sure I put this video out because I don't know. I think it's rare when people make these videos to give great experiences a chance to be told. And from Cycle Springs to Yamaha, keeping me in the loop, letting me know what's going on, standing by their word, honoring the warranty. I mean, I don't know, 5 of 5, 10 of 10, 2 thumbs up. Any way you want to kind of picture it, any way I can explain it, I had a phenomenal experience. So I just want to give a big shout out to Jesse and the Cycle Springs crew, to Jonathan and the team over at Yamaha, because I couldn't have asked for a better experience. It worked out beautifully. I'm back on my Wave Runner. I'm testing it today. So far, so good. Motor is running, and I can't thank you guys enough, man. So I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. I hope to get out on the water soon on more adventures. Some of you guys have even hit me up on Instagram, Facebook. You guys are in the Tampa area or you're coming down here. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to ride with you guys, trying to get my 10 hours in trying to get my 10 hours in as fast as I can so I can hit the water full speed, baby. Thanks again. Appreciate you for tuning in here on Obiski TV. Of course, if you haven't done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I hope this video helped. If you were on the fence of whether to get a Yamaha, whether to buy Cycle Springs, I'm just sharing my experience, man. Hope that can help you guys out. Thanks again. Appreciate you guys. God bless. Let's go.